What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Lunch with the Clydesdale. Today is not a work day, so I'm a little more cash about what my lunch hour is. But it is freezing cold here in Ohio, and it's only supposed to get colder over the next 2 days. I just took the dog out right before I came down here, and the wind was whipping through my pants. Oh my gosh, so bad. So just sipping on my coffee, sitting in the basement, hanging out with you guys. Can't wait to chat today. I was thinking, like, man, in the first 5 years we've done this podcast, I maybe wore a hat like 5 times. I have worn a hat like every show in the last couple weeks. And just so you guys know, like, I have not gotten a haircut since well before Christmas, maybe even back to Thanksgiving. So it is mangy up on top. It takes a lot to get it to even look somewhat decent. But with everything going on and my wife's surgery and everything, it's just not been a priority. So it has been Scott in the hat day for a good couple weeks. So anyway, there's that. So I wanted to talk real quick about the football weekend that just was. Incredible football games for the most part, all coming down to the end, except for maybe that Lions game. Last Friday, I made 4 picks and 4 line picks, and I went 3 for 4 in my overall picks, only missing the Lions and Commanders game. I picked the outright winners in the other 3. And then on the lines, I went 2 for 4. I missed, I think, the Texans-Chiefs game. I missed that line. I thought they would cover. They just missed. And then I missed the Lions outright. And gosh, they were giving away 9.5 points. Not only did they lose, they lost bad and did not cover. But I got yesterday's right on the lines with the Rams covering and the Buffalo Bills covering and winning. So yeah, pretty exciting games in the snow yesterday. What's up, Jose? Texans got robbed. Man, they were right there. Like, it just seems like whenever the Chiefs play, it's almost like they're inviting you to take the game, knowing that at any point they can pull it away. CJ Stroud just looked beaten up by the end of that game. Too many hits, too many sacks, which has been the Texans' problem all year. And the Chiefs really came with some pressure at the end of the game. But it was a fun game to watch, I will say, because the Texans had a shot at the end. It just what didn't turn out their way. The Lions really shit the bed. I have no idea what happened there. I said last night on the show, Jamie's a big fan of the Lions, her and her husband, and I have been a Bears fan my whole life. So the Lions have been in our division. However, I wanted them to win. They have never been to the Super Bowl. I wanted just new blood in there, and I was pretty gutted that they lost to the Commanders. Plus, my Bears picked Caleb Williams over yeah, sure, the really good quarterback for the Commanders, Daniels. Then they picked Caleb instead of him, and he is just blowing it up and is having the best rookie season ever. And damn it, like, did we make the wrong choice, as we always do? And that's where the Bears fans always, like, their head goes to, is we had to have made the wrong choice. So there's that. And then the snow games yesterday, Philly and the Rams. Man, the Rams played tough in the snow. Really got to give them credit. I thought Stafford was going to pull it out at the end when they hit that long pass to Puka towards the end. I thought it was right there. And they just couldn't pull it out. And then I wanted the Bills to win last night. And when Jackson hit the touchdown at the end of the game, and then Andrews dropped the 2-point conversion. I could not believe he dropped that pass. Could not believe it. We had just gotten off the air, watched that live on my phone before I went upstairs. And Carolyn, I'm looking at Carolyn like, how did he drop that pass? I have no idea. Mark Andrews never drops passes like that. So that game ended in it was an awesome game in the snow. So next week we have Bills Chiefs, we have Commanders Eagles. I'll make my picks later in the week. But tonight we have the national championship game with the Ohio State Buckeyes taking on Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And the line on this game is OSU by 8.5. What? That's a huge line for a national championship game where you have had a playoff to narrow it down to the best 2 teams in the country. And what I'm going to say, my pick for tonight is definitely a head pick, not a heart pick. I want Notre Dame to win tonight, and I've never rooted for Notre Dame in my life. But I live here in Columbus, Ohio. I am not a Buckeye fan, and I have to hear about the Buckeyes 24/7. So I want them to lose. Because I just don't want to deal with another national championship here. It just gets to be awful here in Columbus. So I am picking them to win. I do think that OSU has the better team. I think they have the more explosive weapons. So I am picking OSU tonight, and I do believe that they're going to cover the 8.5 points as well. I just think it's going to be one of those where it's close for about 3 quarters, and OSU will pull away in the fourth, and probably make it a 10 to 14 point win at the end of the game. So I will give away the 8.5 and take the Buckeyes on the line and the Buckeyes to win outright. As much as I don't want that to happen, I do not want that to happen. I would rather be wrong on my pick than have to deal with the Buckeyes winning another national championship in this city, because it is awful. Last night we turned off the NFL game, and immediately the news was talking all about the Buckeyes. It is nonstop stuff here. So with that, a little bit of CrossFit news. I watched the Mayhem podcast this morning. Last night, a big topic on Sunday Night CrossFit Talk was about the qualification process for the Mayhem Classic and how they are using historical data to pick their athletes. And Carolyn and Jamie definitely had strong feelings about that. It really should be about this season and not historical data. So what I did is I picked a piece of their podcast I want to show where they actually discuss the qualification process, how they're doing it, why they're doing it. They actually have reasons behind everything. But I'm going to share that real quick. And so here we go. Here is Rich and Rory talking about it in their podcast.
There's so many different things and outliers and reasons why we should do this one and not that one, and X and Y and Z, but we're going to go with the Rogue one.
I just think there's a propensity to overthink it. It's like we want a history of excellence and we want recent performance to be through the roof, and Rogue is proven, and they're obviously tremendous, and they don't underdo anything.
So one of the arguments that we had last night was that it's historical data and not current performance qualifying you for this in-person semifinal. Rory states it very clear there that they were looking for historical performance as well as how they're performing at this moment. I'll let it play a little bit further, and then I'll recap a little bit more.
I just think it's safe's not the right word. It's right.
The hard work is paid off. You know,
look at you go. That's like the last two references already.
Yeah. So so we're gonna do that. We're gonna take the first 18 that accept. I guess those will go out.
By the time this
3 days ago.
podcast goes live, yeah, this will.
They'll-
So 18, and then we're gonna do 2 wild cards. Guess what? Because it's our party and we can invite who we want. Don't care what you say.
So they are doing 18 invitations based on the Rogue leaderboard. The first 18 that accept will be competitors at the Mayhem Classic. So that is, they will backfill until they get 18 men and 18 women for the Mayhem Classic. And then they are holding 2 wild cards, 2 men, 2 women, that they can invite anybody who they want to fill those 2 spots, as well as the 18 who qualify through the Rogue leaderboard. And as you heard Rich say, it's their party and they can invite whoever they want. So they go on to say that really their goal of their in-person semifinal was, because they are the first one up, to get as many of the top athletes in and get a crack at qualifying right at the beginning of the in-person semifinal qualification process and be done with it, so they can move on to either games prep or WFP or any of those other things, but to get it kind of checked off the box early. And that's why they wanted the best of the best at theirs, to allow that opportunity for the top athletes to do that. Again, CrossFit has allowed the semifinals to kind of make up their own rules through this process. And so they did that. They are using the Rogue qualifier and they're doing it that way. Again, Carolyn and Jamie make good arguments. And if you want to see those, check out our show from last night, and it's right in the beginning part of the show. They talk about why it shouldn't be historical and why it should be more current data. They also said that they will review this and look at it in the future, but right now they didn't have a lot of lead time going into this being the first in-person semifinal event out there, and that they kind of were hamstrung this year. So they're going to try this. They're going to give it a whirl. They'll evaluate it in the off season and see how things go. Other than that, this is a great podcast. There's questions about the WFP, about the CrossFit game season. Angelo asks Rich many questions about, if he were a current athlete, what would he do in these situations? Would he compete in the WFP? Would he compete in the game season? How would he evaluate that and look at it from different perspectives? And they admittedly say they don't really know enough about it at this point to make super educated guesses and to make that determination. But these are some things he would look at. And what I found interesting is, we've been talking about this the whole time, that, you know, athletes want more opportunities. And Rich said when he was competing, he tried to stay as fit as he could throughout the duration of the season, maybe even at the expense of his own longevity and durability. But that was always his goal, was to be in top shape and come to every competition in the best shape he could be. So I think that is kind of the mental attitude that you have to have in this new era of CrossFit, going on more than just a couple times a year. They also talk about mistakes they believe that CrossFit has made and things that need to be changed to make it easier to digest for the consumer. They think that the reason that the Mayhem Classic is only going to be 2 days is they think a 3-day investment on the weekend is too much for a viewer, that 2 days is an easier digestible competition. So that's why Mayhem Classic will be 2 days instead of 3. And actually, as they talked about it, I saw a lot of validity in that. And I think that is definitely going to be a discussion point that I have with the ladies Sunday night on Sunday Night CrossFit Talk. So make sure you tune into that this week. One other thing I wanted to talk about is, last Friday I talked about buying followers, that there was a report out there that Christy O'Connell and Patrick O'Connell had bought followers. I was actually corrected in the comments about what this was. I heard it being discussed on a Sevon podcast last week, and it didn't have a lot of detail. But Andrew Hiller actually sent me some stuff where it was not on their YouTube channel and it was not on their personal account. It was on the IBEX training account that there seemed to be a purchase of followers, and it's their IBEX Instagram account where that happened. I shared a story where I got sucked into a situation back when we first started this podcast. It would have been about 3.5 years ago now, where I got duped by some people and thought it was a legit marketing company, but in fact, they were just helping us with subscribers through what appeared to be bots or people in Russia or the Ukraine or things like that. And how we had to kind of disconnect from that. But man, we were duped big time early on. And if you want to hear that story, you can go back to Friday's Lunch with the Clydesdale and check that out. But I did want to correct what I was saying about Christy's account. And for those who don't know, I was a member of her gym until I'm still a member of that gym, but I was a member of that gym until they sold it to some community members probably a couple months ago now. And so that really hit close to home. And I just was kind of addressing it from a different perspective. So people knew that there are like vultures out there that are looking for people to do things like that too. And on the surface, it may not appear to be something intentional by the user, but just being duped by somebody else. So the last thing I'm going to touch on is there's a push right now, and I'm going to start watching some of the stuff. I know Boz has been on with some people over the last couple days talking about the Community Cup, and the more that the Community Cup kind of sits with me, the more I am inclined to really like where CrossFit is going with this, really giving everybody an opportunity to compete a second time in the season, getting levels that mean something. I hope that at some point those levels are going to be transitioned into local comps where you are a level 8. That means you're an RX athlete. You are a level 5. That means you get to go in the scale division. And you don't have sandbaggers or cherry pickers going in and trying to win the scale divisions, even though they're like a level 8 or level 9 in the CrossFit Open. But I really think that I like the way that they're doing the breakdown by percentages into the levels, and that the second time through in June, you'll get to compete against people just in your division with a workout that is scaled appropriately for you. I think that is a really great idea. I just hope that CrossFit decides to stick with this for more than just a year or two and really give it a good opportunity to kind of catch on. Because I think it could be something special if they really devote some time and stick to it for a little while. So with that, today's going to be kind of a short show. We're here on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so I know a lot of people aren't at work and they're not on their normal schedule, and I wasn't sure what kind of an audience we would see today. And it does look like we're down a little bit on today, but we'll be back tomorrow. We have Top 5 Tuesday tomorrow with my guy Jay Birch, who's in the chat now, Jeffrey Birchfield. We're going to count down the top 5 television shows of all time. These are hour-long mini-series or network or streaming series, not sitcoms. So these will be the top 5 dramas, for lack of a better term, in the history of television. We'll be doing that countdown tomorrow afternoon with Jay Birch, and we'll talk about some other stuff that we'll probably talk about a national championship game that just ended. We'll probably talk more CrossFit stuff as it appears in the news space. And yeah, we had a great show last night. We did our Wodapalooza preview on Sunday Night CrossFit Talk. Make sure to go check that out if you haven't already. Carolyn and Jamie were on fire in the way they viewed things. I'll make a comment about the preview. One thing that I really enjoy about the people that are on my show with me is they give the athlete perspective and they give it pretty quickly. I looked at those workouts at Wodapalooza for the team and the individual and thought, man, that is going to beat some people up. 12 workouts in 4 days, a lot of repetition, a lot of the same muscle group. How would the athletes view that? And Carolyn immediately said that because of the large payouts at Wodapalooza, the athletes are going to continue to do that, and they're going to continue to beat themselves up, and they're going to continue to tolerate that type of programming because it's one of the few places they can make money during the season. Even though we have more opportunities, there is money being cut from the game season that is not the winner. There's money, maybe not as much as we thought in the WFP. So the Rogues and the Wodapaloozas are places where you can actually kind of cash in as an athlete. And so because of that, the athletes will endure more of those beatdowns for the opportunity to compete there. And I found that fascinating because I did not think of it that way at all. I just looked at it from the consumer or the, I guess, media or the spectator thinking, man, that's going to be a beatdown and people are not going to want to put themselves through that year after year. And she immediately corrected me on that. So love that perspective from an active athlete. So with that, I think that's pretty much it for today. Hope everybody has a great, if you're not working today, hope you're having a great day off. Martin Luther King Day. Hopefully wherever you're at, it's not as cold as it is here in the Midwest. Stay warm, and we will be back tomorrow, Top 5 Tuesday, and we will see you then as we get back to our regular lunch schedule. With that, guys, see you then. Bye.